Well, hello and welcome to Knife Delights. Here on the table today, we've got us a German Army knife. Um, so Swiss Army knives are known as I.C.A.R, so this is known as a GAC. And this is one of the knives in that big basket of knives that I recently purchased. And it's an interesting knife, a little bit of an interesting history to it. Now, I know someone left a comment on the original video I did while I was going through the basket of knives that, this might be pretty cool as long as it's not a fake. And I've found a couple other references online about fake GACs. So we're going to first look at this knife, and then I want to talk to you about whether this is real or fake, counterfeit. We got to explore those terms, and we'll just try to figure that out here in just a minute. So first off, again, it's got this olive drab. It's got the eagle on there, and this is a 108 millimeter platform. And this blade here, you can see, is a rather aggressive saw blade. Of course, you got your cap lifter, and it looks like a screwdriver end on it. And the other main blade, and the one thing I'll point out on the construction of this, it's very hard to get to that second nail nick. It's kind of tough. You almost have to open the saw blade first. And then you got your main blade here, the spear point. And this is made by I.C.A.R, and I believe they are out of Italy. Now, the only reference I could find to I.C.A.R was that they make veterinary type tools. They had like a hoof trimmer type knife that they made. So I can't find out much information on I.C.A.R. That's I period, C period, A period, R period. So there's your main blade. What else we got here? Those are the two blades there. Then underneath, you've got your reamer there, punch or reamer. And then, Europeans have got to have their corkscrew open their wine bottles. It also does have a lanyard hole here. So this is your basic German Army knife. Now let's go over the history of this just a little bit. And on this slide here in the top part is something I got off of a, where was that? SAC Wiki, I think. But anyway, the German Army knife, or GAC, is a 108 millimeter knife manufactured by Victorinox and was official issue to the German Army. This knife marked a touch point in Victorinox's history, with the Swiss company manufacturing knives for the German Army and also initiating the 108 millimeter platform. The 108 millimeters have unique tool designs among Victorinox frame sizes, and all the main layer tools open in the same directions, pivoting at the same end of the knife. This makes them very intuitive and quick to get accustomed to. The 108 millimeter GAC was eventually replaced by the 111 millimeter one-handed GAC. Now, this is what Victorinox did. Now, I don't know. It looks like they had a contract, and I think it came out in the mid 70s, from what I could gather. But just below that, off of another website, you can see there that the same knife was made by a whole variety of companies. And down in the bottom left-hand corner, you see I.C.A.R. Ross Fry, and that is the model of knife that I have. So now we need to get into the discussion of, is this knife a real knife or a fake knife? Okay, real quick before we get into the fake knife discussion, I just thought I'd point this out. I believe this is my I.C.A.R rescue tool. I believe this is 111 millimeter, and when they talk about the one-handed opening, I think it's this style of blade here that they're talking about. So it was this kind of knife replaced with this style of opening, or this style of opening right here. I think that's what they're talking about. Anyway, so is this knife fake or is it real? Well, we got to look at a couple of terms here. So fake means it's not genuine, or it's, counterfeit. And one of the slang terms we like to use is a clone. And a clone is something that is a very close copy or an imitation. Now, so fake means, when it comes to the knife world, a knife company copies a knife pattern. So let's say they copy a buck knife pattern. Let's say they make a folding lockback that looks exactly like the Buck 110, only instead of putting their own company name on the tang stamp, they stamp it Buck and they try to sell it as a buck. That is what is fake. What we refer to as a clone is something that's a very close copy or imitation. So again, how many companies out there have imitated the Buck 110? Only they put their own maker's mark on there or their own tang stamp. They're not trying to sell it as a buck. They're just trying to copy what Buck did. And let's face it, folks, cloning, as we call it in slang terms, happens all the time in the knife community. Every company does it, just about. So there's nothing wrong with a clone. You know, the company marking it as their own. That way, you know, you're not trying to sell off of somebody else's name. So we have a third little category here is somebody calling it fake because it wasn't part of the German army supply system, and or they made extras of these to sell on the civilian market. And I'm assuming that's what this is here. It's not fake, as in somebody didn't illegally copy it and stamp it. It may not be a clone because I.C.A.R may have had a contract also. Again, according to that one website, many companies had contracts. So as long as, you know, I.C.A.R was contracted to make this knife by the German army, it's neither fake nor a clone, but what it is a commercial version. And I saw one person refer to it as a tourist version. So while they meet all the specs, it didn't necessarily get, you know, issued to the Army or go through the Army supply chain, but they just made extras of them for the civilian market. Here's another example of something similar to that. We got our electrician's knife, the TL29. You can see this one is actually stamped TL29. Now, just because it has the stamp on there does not mean that this entered the military supply system or that this was issued. It's just that as they were making them for the military, they made more of them and they sold them on the civilian market. Well, I'm going to let you decide. What do you think? Is it fake? Is it real? Or is it just a tourist model, as somebody referred to it as? I just think I think it's real. I think I.C.A.R did have a contract and they just made some extra ones. Or, you know what? Maybe this did get issued and somehow it made its way over here to the States and ended up in a batch of knives in an antique store. Who knows? But it's a very fascinating knife. It's a wonderful knife to have, to add to my collection. I'm very glad to be able to have it. And, well, until next time, have a very delightful day.